You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
And Zoning Commission. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here we go, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show, the TGIF edition for this Friday, September 6, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris, live at Innisfree Irish Pub, University Boulevard in Tuscaloosa, just about halfway between, well, I guess I could call it technically downtown, but not far from campus either. You know where it's at. Anyways, I'm part of the Fridays at the Free celebration. Wyatt Fulton, of course, will be here with T-Town Sports Daily beginning at 11 a.m. They open at 11 a.m. I understand they're not open, but as I just put out on social media, if you slip by just to hang out with us for a little bit, now you can't eat anything, or you know, there's nobody here as far as the staff, as far as servers or anything, but you can hang out with us and listen to a little bit of the show. That side door, we can probably get you in here at Innisfree Irish Pub. As I said, I'm Gary Harris. I'm your host. I've got my main man, Chase Brumfeld, back there at our Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC studios and control room. He is taking care of all the heavy lifting this morning while I'm out here hanging out with Wyatt. And Robbie Glenn from Striker Strong has already stopped by this morning, so he's with us. We're going to promote his big golf tournament coming up the Friday before the Georgia game over at Bentbrook Golf Course. And again, that StrikerStrong.org organization is just absolutely top notch. So if you're involved with supporting Striker Strong already, thank you. If you're not, we'll talk with Robbie about how you can get involved, because it is absolutely outstanding. That is for sure. All right, Chase, let me bring you in just to make sure you're coming in loud and clear. And if I need you over there in the studio, have you got me? I know you got me good. Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go, buddy. Absolutely. I think they're going to try to get the music turned down a little bit. Chris is in the office right there to the left, Robbie. If you go in there and go to the left. And we got the music cranking out here at Innisfree, and I think it might be going over. Can you hear the music going over our air signal, Chase?
Just a little bit loud.
Just a little bit? Yeah, they're gonna turn it down. Chris is gonna turn it down for us. There we go. Thank you, guys, because we're gonna have a big time out here. I know it's early. I know that they're not open yet, but man, it feels good to be out and about here at this beautiful Innisfree Irish Pub. All right, before we go any further, let me tell you that this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you as always by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here is the lineup for today. Yeah, we are going to have our TGIF lineup. Adam Amin from Fox Sports is back with us. He is going to open up his NFL schedule in his hometown of Chicago on Sunday, as he's going to get the Bears and the Titans. He is going to be working this year with Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink. So great opening game for Adam Amin. He's a Bears guy, and he'll get to stay in Chicago and work. We'll talk about the NFL with Adam Amin at 9:30. Then at 10 o'clock, Larry the Music Man will be joining us at 10 a.m. for his segment. This is really taking off as we talk Southern rock, Southern blues, jazz, the origins really of Southern rock and roll with Larry Butler, Larry the Music Man, longtime session musician out of Atlanta, played with some of the great artists and bands in the history of Southern rock. He's with us at 10. And then it's the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz at 10:30. Also this morning, and my SEC point spread predictions, Wyatt and Chase, have created a lot of buzz after my poorest last year. Honestly, I've been doing this for several years. I had been picking at a pretty good clip. Last year was really the first bad year that I've had. I was at under 50%. I think I was 2 or 3 games under 50%. But I came out on fire last week with an 8-1 SEC point spread prediction. And then also at this morning, we're going to have our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. Once again, this week we're giving away a Greg Gamble full-sized color print of the Gravedigger with Jalen Milroe on one half of the print and Isaiah Bond catching the pass on the other one, 4th and 31. Tony was our winner last week. I was able to get his print earlier this week. And we will have another print that we're giving away at 10:30 this morning in our Bama football trivia contest. So we're ready to roll. What a start to the NFL season last night, right? A great game between two really good teams. Went right down to the wire. Kansas City gets the win at home over Baltimore 27-20. It was delayed about a half an hour because of lightning. But the Ravens, Lamar Jackson played great, but he missed a couple of throws that could have been touchdowns. Then on a 4th down play, who was it, White, that caught the ball for the Titans with his foot on the line?
Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely, who had an incredible game. Isaiah Likely had an unbelievable game. On 4th down, he hits Likely. They ruined a touchdown on the field. They went to replay, and like his toe by the just not his whole big toe. I mean, the edge of his cleat tapped that white line, and Kansas City wins. Baltimore, interestingly enough, Harbaugh was already sitting on the 2-point attempt team. So they were going to go for 2, and they were either going to win it or lose it right there. If you had Baltimore plus the 3, you're sick, because if that touchdown stands, you're guaranteed to win your bet either way, because they're either going to win the game by 1 or they're going to lose the game by 1. But it was not a touchdown. But what a great start to the season. Tonight, down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, we've got Green Bay and Philadelphia. That's going to be a great game. A second great game, and then a full slate of games on Sunday. As I said, Adam Amin from Fox Sports will be with us at 9:30. College football, of course, we're getting cranked up. We'll have much more on Alabama as we go, but right now we are going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. And we got Pat with us to lead us off this morning. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. You're at Innisfree today?
I am, my friend.
Hey,
breakfast at the free, although I'm not having any breakfast.
Yeah. Let's give them a plug that I was a federal catfish inspector for over 28 years, and I ate catfish. Government paid me to eat catfish, and I was in there last Friday with White, and I had some of the finest catfish I've had in quite some time. The mac and cheese wasn't bad either. So I hope I'm coming back over there at 11 today, and I hope we'll get plenty more people, callers and stuff, to come in.
Yeah. Like I said, they open at 11, so wild to be here. But as I said, if somebody wants to slide by a little bit early, I can probably get you in. I know you're not going to be able to eat or drink or anything like that, but you can hang out with us for a little while. But yeah, at 11 a.m. they're going to be open and going strong. So you're right. And that Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special is one of the best in town. So yeah, thank you for that.
It was a very good plate of catfish. I was full time I got through with the mac and cheese, and it was a really good deal. Hey, this week, hey, who's your top Alabama receiver this week? And I've got Ryan again with 180 on 7 targets.
Ooh,
am I asking too much?
Yeah, I think you are. Just because I think they've got so many good receivers. He had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns, and what was it, 159 yards or something like that, or
139. Yeah, he had 139 on 2 catches. That's pretty good. That's pretty good average, about 60 yards.
Incredible. He's capable of going off again. I got a feeling they're going to get Jeremy Bernard more involved this week. I think he only had 1 catch, and Kendrick Law as well, who had the early touchdown. So I think Ryan Williams is always going to be a force. I'm going to say if you're going for 7 for 180, I'm going to take the under in that for Ryan this week.
All right. So you're going on the under in that. Hey, look, if he goes off for 180, they might be talking Heisman with that young man already early on. Especially with what we're going to do up at Camp Randall.
Yeah, they sure might be talking Heisman if he goes off.
But yeah, I'm thinking, that quarterback that they got down at South Florida is not bad, and that edge rusher is what bothers me. we're low on a tackle, an offensive tackle, and that edge rusher, they brought him in. He was actually, from what I understand, he was like a safety or something. I know this, Proctor didn't have any kind of answer for him last year, and I was down in that torrential rain. Went up to my knees in the water in the stands. I mean, that was the most rain I've ever seen in a short period of time, I think, ever.
Yeah, I lived in Florida when I was a kid. It can gush it, man. There ain't no doubt about that, pal.
Yeah. Well, I'm in hopes that we can figure out an answer for that guy. But if Ryan and like you said, several of the others can really start showing out early, that perhaps they got to put him back at safety and he can't play on that edge where he was playing against us last year, because he was just lining up and coming around there, and he could bend so good that Proctor just didn't have an answer to him. But that guy,
but you're right.
He tackled my quarterback Ty Simpson. I think he sacked Ty at least 5 times.
Yeah, you got to block him. You know,
I'm
pretty confident that Proctor's not going to obviously play tomorrow, and a little concerned about Pritchett. He's dealing with an ankle, so if he can't go, then and again, I don't know the situation. I just know I've been told that, and Rodney Orr reported that he's dealing with an ankle situation, so hopefully he'll be good to go. But the offensive line, you'd like to have all your guys against the defense that, as you said, has. They got after Alabama last year, and they got a bunch of starters back. I think it's either 8 or 9 starters. They got 17 starters back, 9 on offense or 9 on defense and 8 on offense, or vice versa. But they got a lot of key guys back. So this is a game where I think Alabama's going to be hyped up, though, Pat. I said this yesterday. This feels like a big game, even though it's USF, with the fact that you're going to have
it's a big game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big game because of the way we played last year, and I like this game 52-3, and that Jalen comes out and shows, hey, I probably should have been playing last year.
Yeah, I think like you said, there's going to be a point to prove for this team, for the guys that were down there last year, for the ones that played poorly, and for Jalen Milroe, who didn't play at all. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. Plus, you've got the Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium's dedication. It's going to be a festive atmosphere, and I think Alabama's going to be tuned in. I got them winning big. I mean, I've got them winning 52-13 over what I think is a pretty good team. So, obviously, I think they're going to be dialed in and want to get a little payback.
Gotcha. All right, hey, have a blessed day, and let's hope we roll. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate your phone call. It's 9:14 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're off and running live from Industry Irish Pub on University Boulevard in Tuscaloosa. They're not open yet, but we're getting you ready anyway. And getting ready for a big home game weekend of Alabama Crimson Tide football Fridays at the Free. Wyatt Fulton will be here with T-Town Sports Day daily at 11, and they will be open then. So get on by for the Lucky Lunch or whatever you enjoy for lunch. They've got a full menu as well. All right, we're going to take our first time out. Corey, you stay on hold. We're going to lead off with you when we get back on the other side of the break. Adam Amin coming up at 9:30. Larry the Music Man at 10. Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz at 10:30. My pal Robbie Stryker is here from Stryker Strong with me at Innisfree. We're going to work him in here to talk about their big golf tournament coming up. Their major fundraiser for the StrykerStrong.org. We'll have a conversation about that. More of your phone calls. Just really in a good mood. Football season out and about here at Innisfree. We'll be right back after this.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
$100 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets and get a $300 instant gift. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside.
Feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few periods of rain today and tonight. The high today 78, the low tonight 64. Tomorrow partly sunny with only a small chance of a shower. The high 84. And Sunday, a sunny day with a high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, the TGIF edition of The Gary Harris Show coming to you live from Innisfree Irish Pub. Fridays is free. A little Wet Willie right there. We're going with the instrumental versions. That way we don't have to worry about any issues with the podcast, with the lyrics. But still, great tune. Love the Friday music, love the Friday vibe, and particularly here at Innisfree hanging out. All right, let's jump back out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in our pal Corey from over in Trussville. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Gary. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man.
I'm ready for this game. I think Alabama's going to prove a point because they know that they didn't play to their full potential last year, and Milroe didn't play in the game, and if you remember, there was a driving rainstorm, and
absolutely, yeah.
But it should be good weather Saturday. The crowd will be into it because it's Saban Field. And I just think Alabama they'll be laser focused, and I just feel like this will be really an easy win Saturday.
Well, I think it's going to wind up being a lopsided score. I don't know if there are really any easy wins, Corey, but I think Alabama's motivated to perform a lot better. And as I've said all week, even though they won the game, and that's kind of what you're talking about, it feels like maybe they didn't win the game. That was one of those games last year where it was a win, but nobody felt good about that game. The only thing you really felt good about was the fact that after that game, Jalen Milroe was reinserted as the starting quarterback, and they just took off from there. The win at home over Ole Miss was probably the biggest win of the season, in my opinion, because a lot of people were picking to Ole Miss to win that game. And when Alabama won that game, it kind of triggered something. Then obviously the second half comeback against Tennessee. And then after that, it was, all the way to the college football playoff and an SEC championship. But that game at South Florida, Corey, it's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and they're going to try to get that taste out of their mouths tomorrow night.
You were talking about the offensive line, and we pretty much think Proctor's not going to play, but you were thinking that Elijah Pritchett.
I know what I said. Let me be clear on what I said. I think that Pritchett has been dealing with an ankle. He has for some time. I don't know what his status is. I'm just saying I don't know. But Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, Tider Insider TV, put it out on TiderInsider.com that he's dealing with an ankle. So that's all that I'm saying. I don't know what the situation is, so don't put any words in my mouth. I'm expecting right now that my feeling is Caden Proctor won't play. But I'm assuming that Pritchett will, but we will see.
Was this ankle injury before the?
I just think it's something he's been dealing with. As far as I know, it's just something that he's been dealing with, and so that's all I know. So I don't want to say anything else more about it because I don't really know the situation. But the offensive line without Caden Proctor and Pritchett moving to left tackle, hopefully he'll be good to go tomorrow night.
Do you give Texas? Do you give Michigan any chance to do anything Saturday?
Well, I'm going to be doing my picks here later on in the show. I give them a chance. I mean, they're the defending national champion. They're at their stadium. It's the big noon kickoff for Fox. yeah, give them a chance. I think Michigan's one of those programs like Alabama. I mean, you don't ever count them out at home. Do I think Texas is a better football team this year? Yeah, I do. I think Michigan lost a lot from that team last year, including their head coach. Yeah, I do. So I don't want to give it away yet because I'll be making the pick. So, I mean, I'm leaning toward Texas. At the same time, I give Michigan a chance, sure.
For that game, I think what's going to be key for Michigan to win is just to keep Quinn Ewers on the sideline and play an old-school fashion, grind-out kind of game, because if you get into a scoring match with Texas, the game will be over quickly, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I think Michigan wants to play a certain way. You're right. I think they want to try to control the football. They don't obviously have the quarterback that they had last year, and their ability to throw the football doesn't appear to be the same. And I do think that they're not going to score a lot of points, so they're going to have to play a defensive game. But I still think Michigan's got a good defense. I really do. I think Michigan's got a good defense, and they're going to test Texas. I mean, again, you roll into the big house, that's never a gimme. So I think Texas has got a chance, but I think Michigan's got a better team.
What do you think of the game?
Michigan's got a chance, but I think Texas has the better team.
What do you think of the game last night with Kansas City and Baltimore? Because I don't know about you, but
go ahead.
It just didn't seem like they featured Derrick Henry enough. I mean, I get the game plan was to move Lamar around and pass the ball, but I felt like if they would have used Derrick Henry in the running game, then use Lamar in the run, off the run instead of the pass, I think that would have spread the field out more.
Well, here's what happened. The first few drives, he got the touchdown early. Henry did the first touchdown of the season, and then they got behind. And but I'm with you. I think going forward, is he just going to be just only a first down back? Because Hill played not only on third down, he played most of the second downs too. But again, they were in a lot of second and longs. My thought is this: I thought the Ravens could have won the game. I think Lamar is an incredible athlete. He's the best athlete quarterback in the National Football League, in my opinion. He made a lot of incredible plays. But just like we've seen in the playoffs, when the game was on the line, there at the end, he missed a couple throws to win it. And even the throw to Lively at the end was high. But he had a receiver wide open in the end zone. He had Lively, I think, earlier in the corner of the end zone. And as a quarterback that's trying to get your team to the Super Bowl against the great teams, those are the kind of plays you have to make. So I thought, and I'll ask Adam Amin about it, as good as Lamar Jackson is, can he make those throws when the game is on the line? And he didn't last night. I mean, he just didn't make them. And Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, he had the late mistake in the game, a couple of them. But, the ball that got batted, he did a good job of catching that ball to keep that from being an interception. So nobody's perfect, but I thought Lamar Jackson, you're right, they put it on him. And at the end of the game, he didn't come through for his team. And that's just that's just the reality of it.
I didn't know that they had the rule where, I know it's a rule, but I didn't know how strict they were enforcing it of all the linemen being up on the line of scrimmage together.
Boy, they came out, the poor Ravens, I didn't think for a while they were going to get a snap off without a penalty. Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, at some point, if they keep calling on you, either the offensive line coach or you or the head coach has got to say, listen, man, you got to get up on the line of scrimmage. If that back foot, that plant foot, is too far off the line, they're going to call you for illegal procedure. So it's a point of emphasis, and boy, it just killed the Ravens. So, I thought the Ravens were a little sloppy in the game. I think they're good enough to beat Kansas City, but just like in the AFC playoffs last year, Kansas City made the plays that they needed to make, and Baltimore came up short again. So, but it's the first game of the season. Baltimore's got a really good team. But on your Derrick Henry point, I'm with you. Going forward, you got to get him involved. He is a high volume ball carrier, and what I mean by that is he wears down a defense. His first 6 carries might go for 13 yards, or he might have 11 carries for 31 yards, and then all of a sudden he busts off a carry for 65 yards. That's the kind of guy he is. You have to keep feeding him. So I'm with you there, Corey, but I think the way the game went had a lot to do with that. But I hope he's more prominently featured going forward. Hey, my friend, great call. You ready for high school football tonight?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Hewitt goes to Vestavia for their first region game. And the thing about that game is, yes, Vestavia's 0-2, but they played Carver Montgomery and they played Auburn, and they were missing two of their best players. They're going to be jacked up playing at home, first region game. So this is going to be a tough game for Hewitt.
It'll be a tough one. Hey, Corey, I'm going to try to squeeze one more call in before we hit the break. Thank you, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Good talk to you. Roll Tide.
All right, let's get Willie on here for a couple of minutes before we have to hit the break. Hey, good morning, Willie.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing this morning?
Doing good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to the game tomorrow, and dealing with this DirecTV. Found out this morning that we don't even have ABC anymore, so all the 8 ESPN channels are out.
Disney,
they're all out. It's a big mess, man. I hope to get that.
Well, here's what I'm hoping.
Of.
I'm hoping with a college football Saturday in the wings that they're negotiating nonstop, and that by tomorrow morning they either get a new contract in place or they come up with something to at least get us through the weekend. Because if you go through, it's bad enough Monday night not to have the Florida State and Boston College game, but if you got an entire college football Saturday that's impacted, that's not going to be good, man. So I hope they get something worked out.
Yeah, because I'm looking up several places I need to go to watch the game in Georgia tomorrow, and but it's been hectic, I tell you. But I want to talk about the game. I live in Georgia, but I have family in Lakeland, Florida, and me, my niece's sister, and nephew, we actually went to the game last year, and the weatherman. I remember last year the weatherman was talking about the forecast for that game, and he was spot on. We got caught right in there. We was there, and all of a sudden that big rainstorm came through, and he was on point with that. I mean, I said, this James Spence is really, really good. But, yeah, we got drenched, but we had a great time, and it's something we planned a year in advance when I saw that Alabama was playing South Florida and Tampa, so that was a planned trip that we was looking forward to it. But that was an interesting game, I tell you.
Yes, it was. And like I've talked about this week, that's a game that even though Alabama won it, and you were there, Willie, that's just one of those weird games that they don't feel good about. And I think they're looking for a little payback tomorrow night at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I got it 52-13. I got the Tide jumping on the Bulls and taking care of business.
Yeah, definitely. And I really appreciate you calling. Enjoy the show all the time. And have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to the game, and thank you so much.
Well, hey, man, don't let this be your last call. Look forward to hearing from you again. Have a great weekend. Hope you find a place to watch the game, okay?
All right. Thank you. I will, and talk to you next time. Thanks a lot.
All right, Willie, thank you. 9:31 on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to get to the break. We're going to come back with Adam Amin, Fox Sports play-by-play announcer. He'll be on the call for Titans-Bears this Sunday at Soldier Field in Chicago. We're coming back with him live from Industry Irish Pub, Fridays at 3, next year on the Gary Harris Show.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure...
Changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
Oh, yeah. 9:34. Saturday in the park. Sunday at Soldier Field. It is the Bears hosting the Tennessee Titans in their season opener. And Adam Amin from Fox Sports will be on the call. And always happy when I get an opportunity to work a segment with Adam. He'll be joined on Sunday by Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink. And we're going to talk about that game and all the NFL opening games with Adam this morning. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Doing well out here at Industry Irish Pub early this morning in Tuscaloosa. We're not open, but it's still a good pub vibe. So fun place to do the show. Let's start out with last night. And I was just talking with a caller. I want to be careful how I phrase this because I want to get your input. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's the best athletic quarterback in the NFL, and that's saying something because there's some good ones that are athletes. Makes a lot of plays. They put it on his shoulders last night. But like we've seen in the playoffs, at winning time, he didn't make the throws. He had before the Lively catch there on the back line, he had a receiver wide open that he missed. He had a Lively in the corner of the end zone where he missed the throw, and even the throw that was initially called a touchdown was a little bit high. I just think when you're where he's at, Adam, at that superstar level, and you're trying to do something more in the playoffs and push to the Super Bowl, those are the kind of plays against those kind of teams that the quarterback's got to make for you to go there. And I just didn't think he, as well as he played last night, I didn't think he made the plays at winning time to win the game.
Been the narrative around Lamar, right? And this goes back to what surrounds him going into the postseason. He's been a phenomenal regular season quarterback. His offense has been catered and tailored to him in a really accessible fashion for him over the last few years. Obviously an MVP. He's a high quality player in the NFL, and he's proven a lot of people wrong. But he keeps running into these walls where can't make the big throw at the end of a game, under pressure. We saw obviously what some of the pressure did to him, and the line didn't hold up particularly well on a lot of these key plays down the stretch, even when Chris Jones was on the sideline. Obviously when Chris Jones came back in, that made a bigger impact, but it felt like he still wasn't able to make the plays. There was still some scrambling. That throw to Zay Flowers is going to hurt, because that's the one that he should have made. Like the throw to Likely, the throw to Likely that got overturned, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. I agree with you. It's probably a little high if we're really deep diving into it, so I would agree with that. But there's little you can do. That's about as close as you can possibly get. That was almost a touchdown. If Likely gets his feet down, we're not talking about it. The throw to Flowers that he missed, that's a must-have. It's a must-have in a spot like that. And those are the throws that separate what I think are the elite of the elite from the guys who are just great. And I think Lamar Jackson right now is fighting the narrative that he's great, but not one of the elite of the game, even though he has an MVP to his name and he's had, a deep playoff run mixed in there. It's about making it's a fair narrative that's built around him. It's about being the player in winning time that somebody like Patrick Mahomes is, somebody like Josh Allen has been. Other quarterbacks in the AFC have made some of those plays, and that's why they're as touted as they are. We haven't seen those as often from Lamar Jackson in big games, especially. And they've played a lot of big games. They played a lot of nationally televised games. They're one of the best draws in the NFL. They're one of the best teams to watch in the NFL, and they've been consistently good for a while. So we have to see those plays be made, especially on opening Thursday night, national stage, biggest audience, that you could get for the first game of the 272 that we're going to have.
Adam Amin, Fox Sports, on the call this Sunday at noon Central for Bears Titans in Chicago, talking Ravens and Chiefs from last night. Let's get to Derrick Henry, because I'm going to ask you about him. And it's one game, but I do think this was the concern that some had when Henry joined the Ravens. Okay, he is a volume ball carrier. He's a traditional, tailback in the eye. Jackson is a run threat. Hill's their second and third down guy in passing situations. He got the early touchdown, but they got behind. It's one game, and they're going to play defenses where he's a guy that's got to get in a rhythm, and he really never had a chance to do that last night. I understand on third downs, and I guess second long, but it looked like to me he was just the first down back for the most part. Do you see concerns with how they're going to use him going forward based on what you saw last night?
I think, it's a lot of strategic stuff, and what you said, Gary, is right. The Titans were such a run-first team, and I think you nailed it on the head. This goes back to Derrick's college days. This goes back to his high school days. Just give him the ball and let him ramp up during the course of the game, because Derrick was at his best in the third and fourth quarter, right? When he was still, his conditioning, as you know, and you've seen his workouts, and I have too, and he's one of the most well-conditioned, well-built running backs that we have in a position that lacks durability. He is about as durable as it comes, and he's strong and fast in an elite sense. But the game plan was always, hey, let's get Derrick the ball 20 times, and by the time that 20th carry hits, probably in the fourth quarter, or maybe even in the third if it's a heavy run day for him, the defense is going to be worn down, and Derek is going to eventually find the hole. He's going to get the big run. We know the big 90-plus yard runs he's had in his career, but, the 30-yard runs that start to get a little bit more common in the second half, they're hard to come by when he hasn't had, at least based on track record in Tennessee and his time at Alabama. Based on track record, he's been the type of running back that gets better as the game goes on, but he needs to get to that 20 touch mark to really, feel that. And I think Mike Vrabel over the years, Brian Callahan, Brian Callahan, the new play caller in Tennessee, the kind of revolving door of play callers that Tennessee had in Derrick Henry and how they game plan for teams, were constantly trying to get him the ball 20 times. And it was a point of emphasis every week. That's not to say that Derrick's not going to find pay dirt on one of these big runs. It's just seeing how effective he was in the second halves of games when Tennessee wanted to be a run-first team. I think Kansas City or Baltimore might lack that at times a little bit. And in the Kansas City game, we didn't really get to see that, right? Especially when you're playing from behind in the third quarter. You haven't really had a chance to establish him. He's at his best when he's averaging somewhere between, 4.5 and 5.5 yards to carry. He was down to 3.5 yards to carry last night. So I would like to see them use him differently, but also the game scenario, time and score has a lot to do with it. So if the Ravens find themselves up in games, Derrick's going to hit that 20 touch mark, and I think he's going to have some big games as the season goes on.
All right, I do too. All right, another fascinating game tonight down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We've got the Packers and the Eagles. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. Eagles started fast and just absolutely faded. Packers started a little slow and finished strong. I like this game. I'm really fascinated by the Eagles on offense, adding Barkley to see if they can get kind of back in the rhythm that they had a couple of years ago and get Jalen Hurts going. What do you see in this game?
Man, what is the Barkley role going to look like for an offense that, frankly, was a little bit inconsistent, especially late in the year last year? DeAndre Swift was a 1,000-yard back for them. He's now in Chicago. They still have the line, even though they don't have Jason Kelce anymore. They still have the line to do damage in the run game, and that's where I think Green Bay is a little bit weaker. Green Bay is stronger in its secondary, and I feel like up front there's still a lot of question marks for them. They've lost some linebackers in free agency, so I feel like the run game is exceptionally important for Philadelphia. There was a lot of tumult in the offseason about the Eagles and the long articles that were written about the kind of rift between Sirianni, Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Jalen Hurts. There was the call late in the year. I think it was against the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, where Hurts and Brown seemingly went rogue, and Sirianni tried to, fall in the grenade in the sense, and kind of came out that, Hurts and A.J. Brown had kind of gone, on their own. The collapse at the end of the year was legit. I need to see Saquon Barkley help this team out and help Jalen Hurts out. Jalen's taken a big step this year, trying to kind of be a little bit more responsible for the protections. They got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. They've got a lot of questions about how this offense is going to look, and I think it starts with Saquon Barkley. They want to get back to the running game. They want to get back to a little bit of balance so that some of the play calls that we really enjoyed seeing a couple of years ago can be a little bit more effective. Green Bay offensively, you paid Jordan Love, and they have a lot of questions around him. Is he the guy? You had to pay him for his future potential. I like their secondary on defense. I have questions on both sides of the ball for them. I don't know what it's going to be like with all these young receivers trying to forge a connection with Jordan Love, but if they all live up to their potential, this could be a really fun offense to watch when we get to, probably like week 12, week 13 of the season. So I'm fascinated by the matchup. I think it's a big one early to really establish where these two teams are at when they've had so many questions surrounding them in the offseason.
And Josh Jacobs wanted out of Las Vegas. He got his wish. He's with the Packers. And what are you looking for from him in his role? Will he be the guy that was so dynamic a couple of years ago, or the guy last year that at times kind of struggled to get going? How do you see him fitting in with the Packers?
Well, again, to help out your quarterback and to not have everything on his shoulders with a bunch of young receivers who, again, very highly touted and talented, if Josh Jacobs can find a strong role on first and second down, I think they're going to be fine. Because we know how dynamic he can be. We know that he's a workhorse. He wants the ball, right? And you've known that for a long time, as long as you've known Josh. Like, he wants to have the ball in his hands, and he was willing to do that in Las Vegas. He is the lead back now, and I think he's basically the veteran back now. I think Marshawn Lloyd, is a rookie this season. They got Emmanuel Wilson. These are younger guys, and Josh is the workhorse of that backfield now. So I think they need to rely on him. I don't know what this offensive line is going to do. They're younger than they have ever been. There's no Bakhtiari. There's guys that have only been around for 3 or 4 years. This is about as young as I can remember the Packer offensive line being. And Josh Jacobs is going to have a heavy, workload, I think, and he's going to have a heavy role to play. Like, his impact, I think, is going to be felt very early for this Packers offense. And I think it needs to be, because they're going to have to help out what is an inexperienced offensive line and a quarterback that has suddenly massive expectations on him.
All right, let's get to your game, Adam, on Sunday, because I think you have a fascinating opener. I had Kayla Anderson on from Nashville. She does my Tennessee Titans report every week. The Titans are overly optimistic, maybe. They, from what she says, they feel like, no rebuilding, that this transition is, that they can be a playoff team. And the Bears, we know, have Caleb Williams, and you mentioned have Swift. So these are two teams that are going to be looking to get off to fast starts. And the Titans are saying we can go into Chicago and win, and the Bears are saying we got a home game against the Titans, we can win. I like this game a lot.
Same, and it's Bears are basically a pick 'em at home. I think it's a 3.5-point spread. They're the favorites for it, but two offenses that are very similar in terms of their circumstances. Young quarterbacks, obviously. Will Levis got a bunch of time, played basically a half a season last year. And struggled overall, 58% completion rate, lowest in the NFL among qualifiers. League average is about 65. But he's got 3 receivers that I think are all solid. A couple of veterans mixed in there. DeAndre Hopkins could go to the Hall of Fame. Calvin Ridley, you guys know Calvin in SEC country. He is a quality receiver. I know the gambling issues kind of derailed him a little bit, but he's gotten a lot of high praise in the preseason and from his coaches during training camp. I'm looking forward to seeing him mixed into this offense. Tyler Boyd's a nice pickup from Cincinnati. He comes over with Brian Callahan, who's in his first head coaching job and is going to be calling the plays. So they got 3 solid receivers. Tony Pollard. We know Tony Pollard from his days in Dallas. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, although his numbers went down a little bit as a lead back last year. He was still very productive, and he's a quality pass catcher. He can do multiple things. He ran all over Chicago a couple of years ago for 130 yards. He's a really good running back. Their offensive line has questions. They're young. J.C. Latham has to move from right to left tackle. What do you know about J.C.? What can you give me about J.C. after spending time with him with Bama there, Gary?
Love him, Adam. Love him. Dynamic personality. Game's important to him. I thought maybe last year he was a little heavy, but he's gotten some weight off. He's made the transition to left tackle, and I think he's going to be a superstar left tackle. And he's smart. As I said, the game's important to him. I think the Titans hit a home run with J.C. Latham, and I think he's a rookie, but I think he's going to be a really good player in the league for 10 years. I do.
I was curious about what the expectations were, because I know they've spent 2 top picks on offensive linemen the last couple of years. They beefed up the left side of their line with Peter Skoronski and then J.C. If Will Levis is upright, he's done a lot of good things mechanically in the preseason. I think they're in better shape. The reason I think the Titans feel they're underrated or undervalued, their number ones on both sides of the ball, I think, are really good. I mentioned all the names on offense, but they've got a legit, star on every level of the defense, I think, or at least quality veteran guys at every level at this point. Jeffrey Simmons on the front. I love Harold Landry as a pass rusher. I like Arden Key. I like their inside linebackers. I like the addition of Quandre Diggs on the backside, Chidobe Awuzie, who, if he's healthy, is really good. That's why I think Tennessee probably feels that they're underrated. They don't have a lot of depth on either side. And then for the Bears, we know what the story is, right? Caleb Williams, the number one pick, highly touted. No rookie number one quarterback has won an opening start since 2002. David Carr for the Texans, the last one to do it. 0-14-1 ever since. But that doesn't really matter to Caleb Williams because he comes into one of the best situations that I can remember for a number one quarterback. He's got a trio of elite receivers, including a rookie in Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, solid tight end in Cole Kmet, a built-up offensive line. DeAndre Swift comes over from Philadelphia. This is as good of a situation as you can ask for. The defense comes in ranked in the top 6. So both these teams, I understand why they feel positive about everything that's taken place. It's going to be a matter of which quarterback is upright and which quarterback is executing a short passing game more, because they both need to keep drives alive to keep these other offenses on the field and to tire out the defense.
Again, Adam Amin will be on the call with Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink. Bears-Titans Sunday at noon on Fox. All right, Adam, we're getting up against the clock. I do want to ask you a baseball question. The Mets are cooking. The Braves are playing pretty well, and getting Michael Harris back has been a big lift. Still not the Braves team that we hoped we would see. For a while, like they might give the Phillies a run, not going to happen. Are the Braves in danger of not making the playoffs?
There definitely is a concern right now with this Braves group. And again, all the injuries that have obviously weighed them down over the course of the season. But there's significant issues right now. And the National League has caught up. Arizona's played very, very well. Their offense continues to figure things out. All the young guys have played much, much better. As good as the pitching has been, Chris Sale's been great. He didn't pitch in the Philly series, but as great as Chris Sale has been, an opportunity to, be right there for the Triple Crown. He's been as good as anybody. Set some records for left-handers. This offense is still a question mark, and the inconsistencies of where they've been have shown up in a bad way. For the Mets to make the push that they have, and Lindor's played out of his mind ever since he became the leadoff guy, but they're right there. They've come all the way back to time for that last wild card. I didn't get, I did want to look at the schedule, and I had it up here when I was looking at my notes, but I know they've got a couple of key series down the stretch. They've got New York for 3 in the second to last series. They have the Dodgers for 4, I think, next weekend, which might, those 2 series might determine your entire season. And, those 7 games are really going to boil down to it. And you got to play Kansas City at the end of the year, which is not an easy game. The Royals have played really well this season. So there are 3 series that might just determine whether or not Atlanta's going to make the playoffs, and I think those 10 games are the ones that are going to do it.
And a simple question to end on: AL East, Yankees or Orioles, who wins it?
Oh man, I'm trying to feel out who I think, who's pitching. I have more belief in. I think is what it comes down to. I know these offenses can rake. I have confidence in both offenses overall. I think if New York's pitching holds up, if their bullpen holds up, they're fine. If Baltimore's starting pitching holds up, then they're going to win the division. I think that's the determining factor.
Adam, man, always a pleasure. Have a great call on Sunday. I'm going to be somewhere watching all the games, so I'm sure I'll have you tuned in because I am fascinated by this game, especially for the Titans with the way their schedule sets up. These first few weeks before they get into division play and get to their bye, this may be a must-win game for them because they got a tough little stretch here to get started. But the Bears with Caleb Williams, it's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, Adam Amin with us from Fox Sports, one of the best in the business. It is 9:54 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and wrap up the first hour. Before we do, though, I want to remind you that the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, I always say this, the Y is ready for you when you're ready for the Y. It's just that simple. I'm an advocate for the YMCA. I've been a member for over 20 years, and personal training is something that you can use to get over the hump if you're struggling with your workouts. All the YMCA trainers are certified, and they have a special going on to the end of the month, 10% off all personal training packages, whether single.
Every new Honda comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty. 1.9% APR for 36 months on 2024 Ridgeline models through Honda Financial Services. Not all buyers will qualify. See dealer for details. Offer ends 9/3/2024.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
Or you can shop online at TuscaloosaCDJR.com. At Tuscaloosa Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, you pick it out and we'll work it out. Roll Tide.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few periods of rain today and tonight. The high today 78, the low tonight 64. Tomorrow partly sunny with only a small chance of a shower, the high 84. And Sunday, a sunny day with a high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Oh, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, and we're having a lot of fun down here at History Irish Pub. Hour number 1 already in the books. Hour number 2, Larry the Music Man, Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz, also my pal Robbie Glenn stopped by to visit with me this morning. We're going to talk Striker Strong, their big golf tournament coming up, I guess, 3 weeks from today.
Exactly. Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's Bitbrook. So, big second hour. The Cure is going to get us on out of here with Friday I'm in Love. Second hour of the Gary Harris Show is coming up live Fridays at the Free, Innisfree Irish Pub, University Boulevard, downtown Tuscaloosa.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
In the NFL on Thursday night, the Chiefs held on to beat the Ravens 27-20. Baltimore tight end Isaiah Likely did catch a touchdown in the end zone as time expired, but video review showed his toe was on the back line of the end zone and the touchdown was overturned. Kansas City rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy had 2 touchdowns in the victory, 1 rushing and 1 receiving. But the NFL Network is reporting that Ravens offensive linebacker Kyle Van Noy suffered a fractured orbital bone in yesterday's loss to the Chiefs. He will undergo further testing to determine how much time he will miss. The NFL season continues from Brazil later today as the Eagles and Packers will play in Sao Paulo with kickoff set at 8:15 Eastern Time. In college sports, both...
You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Some members of the Tuscaloosa Riverfront Advisory Committee voicing concerns about the condos and timeshares of the second phase of the planned Sports Illustrated Resort on Rice Mine Road. They question traffic congestion and impact on the Riverwalk. 35 wildfires are burning in Alabama, the largest 510 acres in Walker County, south of Cordova. Tuscaloosa votes on a property tax increase on September 24th, and county officials are warning rejection of a similar proposal in the county last year is making improvements difficult.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, everybody. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Fridays at the free Gary Harris Live here at Industry Irish Pub, University Boulevard, downtown Tuscaloosa, and we're going to jump right in with Larry and the Music Man here in just a moment. First, I do want to tell you, get on by Industry. The Lucky Lunch special begins at 11 a.m. They open the doors, and listen, not just the Lucky Lunch. They have a full menu, of course, obviously, cocktails, tons of beers. They're going to be ready to go, get you ready for the weekend. Also, Moose, a great cook, who, well, he's more than that. Moose does about everything around here that needs to be done. He just brought Robbie Glenn and I out some fresh homemade pork skins. I don't want to be crunching them on the air, right? I mean, Robbie, but you go ahead and dive into them here when you get a chance. But right now, as I said, hour number 2, we're going to begin it with Larry the Music Man. And, boy, this segment has just taken off. Larry Butler, longtime session musician in the Atlanta area, has played with some of the greatest Southern artists around, and his history of his knowledge of the history of Southern music is outstanding. We've been kicking it back and forth every Friday. Larry, now listen, I got to stay on time today, buddy. We can't go way over because I got.
All you got to do is say that's enough, guys, because it doesn't seem like there's enough time ever to finish. But that's okay.
There's not, but it's really going to be tight this week. But Larry, just get us started. Where you kind of leaning this weekend?
I want to highlight a couple of Alabama acts. We're going to still be in Alabama. It looks like. I want to throw out an act from the mid '60s to the late '60s. Wilbur Walton Jr. and the James Gang from Dothan, Alabama. That was a Buddy Bowie discovered act.
Buddy Bowie discovered him, okay.
Of course, you know the story with the Candyman and all that, but
yep, absolutely.
They had a regional hit called Georgia Pines, which the Candyman later recorded and did well with it also because of Buddy's influence. But Wilbur was a blue-eyed, back then, what you call blue-eyed soul, white singer, you know?
Right.
He had that R&B gift, as most vocalists did back then. That was the thing because they were influenced by Motown. But he was a very good vocalist, and the band did quite well regionally. We played some gigs with them back in the early 70s. But I was just wondering if anybody remembers Wilbur in that area. He's dead now, but and
yeah, if you remember him, because a lot of these bands that Larry has, and I, of course, I call you a session musician. Obviously, you were a traveling, touring musician as well. But most of these bands or these artists that we've talked about, somebody recalls them. So if you remember that band, give us a call on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342-9904, and we'll get you on with Larry to talk about them. So, but I'm still fascinated by the lifestyle, and we've dived into it when you were on the road, starting out bands there in the 60s and early 70s. The thing that fascinates me, and we discussed this last week, and I'll let you get back to your main point too, but is the camaraderie between the acts. And everybody seemed either, if you didn't know them personally, you knew of them. And I know you played a lot of the same venues, but just the lifestyle, that must have been something else.
It was a different atmosphere. Yes, it was a different atmosphere. It was a brotherhood, especially the Capricorn Macon scene, where you had 12 and 14 bands that they wasn't in competition with each other. They were trying to help each other, and they brought their little boys in from Mobile. That's another thing I wanted to say. Does anybody remember the band called Fox in the late 60s from Mobile?
Fox?
They later Fox.
I think I've heard of them myself.
I'm interested in that piece of history because they went to Macon in the early 70s and changed their name to Wet Willie. So
that's where we were going with that. I knew that's where you were going with that. And
in the Wet Willie, Phil Walden called Wet Willie the hardest working band, Capricorn's hardest working band, because they play with anybody, anywhere, and they literally were blue collar players and worked their way to the top in talent, of course. But anyway, I want to try to tell a road story as much as I can remember, whatever 70s or 80s. I wanted to tell a story about opening up for David Allen Coe, if you'd like to hear it. I haven't told
absolutely.
that. Okay, so I was backing up up-and-coming country singer at that time in '83. We had been in Nashville. The longtime guitar player I played with, even in the early '70s on the road, we were doing some sessions with him. He was trying to put an album together, and the manager that was managing him out of Nashville said, "How would you guys like to do a few shows with Co?" Of course, I said, "Oh Lord, this is going to be interesting." So we do a show over in Savannah, and we opened up for him. And after the show, we stood over and watched his show, which was amazing. And, the band he had an awesome band. And his manager said, after the show, everybody's talking and moving around, and he comes up to the country singer, Willie Carver, at the time, was an up-and-coming country singer in Middle Georgia, South Georgia, and North Florida. He said, "How would y'all like to join David on the bus and drink a little Jack?" I said, "Oh, God." I said, this might be a long evening, because we were spending the night anyway in Savannah. And so we get on the bus, and he starts passing a gallon of Jack around. And
probably going to be a little, but
yeah, and he didn't turn it down. He was a big old boy, David Allen Coe was quite outspoken, and you didn't want to insult him. Of course, I could hold it pretty good, but there were other things going on too. I never smoked pot, never, because I couldn't ever. It just didn't do nothing for me. And anyway, some of them were partaking in that. And David's guitar player come out the back of the bus and sat down. And I didn't have a clue who he was at the time. This is what's interesting. And David said, "Hey, guys, I got a song I'm fixing to put on my new album. We're fixing to go back to Nashville and finish it up next week." And the guitar player opens up. Let me find my notes, because I don't want to miss some words on this. I had to write the lyrics down because, anyway, he strummed into it, and he says, "I was strumming my way to Montgomery with a guitar on my shoulder and a white antique Cadillac pulled up."
Oh, I know this one. Yeah.
It was The Ride.
Yeah.
And we just dropped. We dropped our jaws dropped, man. And that was probably his biggest hit. And here's the clincher. Here's the whole thing that blew my mind. The guitar player, his guitar player, longtime guitar player at the time, was Warren Haynes.
Oh, yeah.
Which 6 years later become longtime member of the Allman Brothers.
And in Government Mule, yeah.
That in Government Mule and everything else and above, solo. And I said, that was Warren Haynes. It was kind of
story.
And we didn't know. I mean, I knew some of the band members by name, but Warren Haynes was just only known to be David Allen Coe's guitar player. But that's what I was telling you, and I think paths cross. And I think in your business, we call it journeyman. I think DJs and radio personalities, in a way, are like musicians, how they cross paths.
You're right.
With characters,
Well, that Warren Haynes story is awesome, because at the time you're like, yeah, this guy's a good guitar player, but then he goes on to be a legend. And then The Ride is, and for folks that aren't familiar with it, it's a story about Hank Williams Sr.
Oh, my God. It gives you chills.
It will, and it still will. And the world just called me Hank. I mean, it's just a great. Hey, listen, Bryce wants to jump on with you. Yeah, go ahead.
When he strummed in, Haynes strummed in on an acoustic chord. It says, "Well, I was coming from Montgomery. I had my guitar on my back when a stranger stopped beside me in an antique Cadillac." I said, "God Almighty knows." When he recorded that,
you knew right off the bat when you heard that.
I knew it. And, David Coe's got such a definitive voice anyway,
Yeah, he does. Well, we could do a whole segment now. We will sometime, because I tell you, there are a lot of people don't like him either. I mean, he's got his fans and he's got his detractors now. I'll tell you that. I've run a lot of the guy.
I played many shows opening when he played at Bike Fest. And I'm going to tell you, he's rough and rowdy.
Yeah,
he's still rough and rowdy. He's calmed down a little bit.
He's not everybody's cup of tea. Hey, Bryce wants to jump on with you for a moment here. Hey,
I've got a story for Bryce about Travis Womack.
Okay.
Bryce, I apologize.
Go ahead and put Bryce on. Bryce, good morning.
Hey, Larry, go ahead and tell me your story about Travis.
Bryce, when you called in last week, I had COVID still pretty good, and I really couldn't hear you for some reason on your end. Travis Womack, it kind of went over my head. I mean, I knew who he was, but I had played with a guy in Atlanta, a session player named Keith Evans. I had played with him for years in different bands, and I did a lot of work with Keith on radio jingles. Well, Keith was so good on the piano and keyboard that he opened for Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, and played backed up Ringo Starr. His band, Star Child. Okay, so I remember Keith sending me photos of the shows and he would call me and say, "You're not going to believe who I played with, yada, yada." He says, "Man," he said, and I'll never forget this, and it hit me after we talked last week. He said, that guitar player with Little Richard, he said, "Man, that guy's a genius." He said, he plays guitar like it you've never heard. He said he actually leads the band. He's the director of the band. And when you said that, it went over my head at that time, and I called Keith this week. He's still in Atlanta. And he sent me some photos, and Travis is in the picture behind Little Richard on stage. Well, Keith's on his keyboard. Yeah, Keith really got around with Ringo, man. He did a lot of shows with Ringo Starr and his All-Star band. But go ahead, Bryce. I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, there was 1969. Travis had a hit song. And do you remember the speakers at the drive-in theaters that we used to get when we'd go to the drive-in?
Oh, you mean the ones you stole? Hey, the ones you stole?
Yeah. Well,
it took me a few of them home.
well, Travis, he had a unique sound with that speaker. He wrote a song in '69 called Scratchy. It was a hit. And I don't know if you remember that.
I do, and I also did a hell of a version of Night Train.
Yeah.
You know,
I was fortunate enough to go by and see Travis because I told you he had an accident and he had fell down. He said he had this back disease since he was 40. He didn't know it, and he broke his back. He said he could be on a walker the rest of his life, and he told me he'd be 80 in November. I saw him Labor Day.
Well, you know, I heard he was still director on the board of directors at Muscle Shoals.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Rick Hall brought him from Memphis, and they asked Travis what was the difference in Muscle Shoals sound and Memphis sound, and he said about 140 miles. he said we all poor white boys and don't have nothing but music, but we know how to play it.
That's a great line. That's a great line.
He was born in Walnut, Mississippi.
That's right.
He spent time in Memphis, and then he moved to Muscle Shoals. But if you've never been to the Music Hall of Fame, you and Gary if you're ever in the area, you need to go by there. Travis has his own.
I'm going to get up there. I do want to go, and then I'm going to get in touch with you, Bryce, and you're going to be my tour guide. How about that?
Well, you know, Bryce,
cool. I'd love it.
Rick brought Travis in the fame because of the Swampers, who become the Swampers later, went over and opened their own studio. You know, Muscle Shoals. That's why he brought Travis in to take Jimmy Johnson's place, and Travis did a heck of a job. He played on Patches. You know, he did all. There's numerous songs he played on that were hits.
Oh, he said a lot of hits.
Patches, yeah.
Y'all know who Mac Davis is, right?
Great stuff there, Bryce. Glad you could get through. I got to cut it short this week in terms of.
I know. I just want to say one more thing, Gary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all know Mac Davis, right?
Oh, of course, I know Mac Davis.
All right. Well, Mac Davis come by the studio and said, "Travis, I've done everything, but I don't have a number one hit." So he recorded "Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me."
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe
Travis
in music.
was on that one too.
Yeah, that's right.
Love Mac Davis. Great actor, too. I mean, in addition to great
Hey, thanks for letting me talk, Gary.
Hey,
are y'all predicting the score
Bryce,
this week? Are y'all predicting the score this week?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in the next segment, in fact.
All right.
So,
well, can I go ahead and give mine? I need to call back in.
Bryce, thank you for calling in.
Go ahead and give
All right. My score is going to be 55-3.
Woo, got him rolling. All right, thank you, Bryce. And Larry, listen.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Larry. Larry, what's your last name?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
What's your last name?
Butler.
Okay, I had to, when I talked to Travis, I had to tell him who I've been talking to.
Don't tell him don't get confused with Kenny Rogers' producer. His name was Butler. I got another story about that. His name's Larry Butler.
All right, I got a lot of stories about Travis, so I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
All right, man.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bryce. Larry, appreciate you, man. We'll have it again next week and probably have a little more time.
Well, Gary, let me say real quick, the 27th, I'll be at the Big House, and that'll be on a Friday, I think, or the 26th. I have to look on the calendar. I'll do the show from there, and we'll highlight the Layla album to honor Dwayne Allman.
That'll be awesome. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
All right, Larry the Music Man, 1019 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we're going to get to the break. When we come back, it's SEC point spread prediction time. All eyes are on me now, Robbie, after going 8-1 last week. And not only did I go 8-1, I went out and did a victory lap on Twitter, Facebook, my show. So the press was on. But we're going to get to my picks. Also, my pal Robbie Glenn, strikerstrong.org, came by to visit with me this morning. We're going to talk about the huge golf tournament coming up 3 weeks from today at Bent Brook. This is a major fundraiser for strikerstrong.org. Innisfree is a big sponsor of the event. So we're going to discuss that. Then at 10:30, we're going to get the Auburn report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. Also at 10:30, we'll do our contest, our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. We're giving away another full-size Greg Gamble print of the Gravedigger play. So we got a lot still to do. We'll be right back on the Gary Harris Show, live from Innisfree, Fridays at the Free.
They serve in West Alabama. If they don't have what you're looking for on the lot, they'll find it for you. Check out the complete inventory at MercedesofTuscaloosa.com. Roll Tide.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few periods of rain today and tonight. The high today 78, the low tonight 64. Tomorrow partly sunny with only a small chance of a shower, the high 84. And Sunday, a sunny day with a high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide. Local high school sports and Bama in the pros right here on Tide 100.9.
Debbie Davis.
Lookout weekend, right, Robbie?
I know all about this one.
We're kicking it off early. Fridays at the Free on Tide 100.9 FM at 1230 AM WTBC. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld back in our studios doing all the heavy lifting. And we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in our pal Tommy from over in Romulus. Hey, good morning, Tommy.
Hey, Gary, how are you today?
Doing great, man.
Well, I think Melrose tomorrow night will have a breakout game. I think Alabama's going to show South Florida what they missed last year. I really do. I'm just hearing that Alabama was lucky to beat them last year, blah, blah, blah. South Florida going to teach Alabama respect. I mean, I can't believe the malarkey I've heard. I think Melrose
Well, you know he's not going to say it, but you know he's a competitor, and I've been around him. He knows that he didn't play in that game, and he understands that that he was there. He saw that game, and I think he and his teammates, I do think they want to prove a point. And I think South Florida, though, in Tommy's in fairness to Coach Alex Golesh and their crew, they should be confident. I mean, they did take Alabama down to the wire, and they do have 17 starters back. So they're coming in with a good attitude and a right mindset, but so is Alabama. So it's going to be, like I said, it's got a big game buzz to it.
It does. It really is. This is a very important game before Alabama play Wisconsin. You know I'm old school, old as dirt. I don't like jumping ahead. Let's take care of business this week, then we'll worry about who's next. So, but, yeah, I'm just looking at our receiving corps. I am real impressed with them, and I just expect us a good, really good game. a lot of people are going to be surprised.
Well, I'm with you. I got it 52-13. I think Bama's going to make a statement too, and Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's going to be a great night, right, Tommy? I agree. So, well, I hope we'll see what happens at left tackle. Don't think Proctor's going to go. I hope Pritchett's out there, but all in all, I think the offensive line will be fine regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with him last week. I guess I wasn't paying attention because I didn't mention Proctor. I said, wait a minute, he didn't play? I mean, I'm like, well, who's this one? Who's that one? I'm trying to learn them again.
Yeah. Well, it takes some time. There've been a lot of transfers, they played so many guys last week. I mean, I still haven't seen a participation chart. I need to get my hands on one. I think they probably played about 70 guys in the game. That's my guess. I mean, they played a bunch of the first. They didn't wait until the game was over. I mean, that first couple series, man, they're running guys in that secondary. They must have played 10 guys in that secondary by the second quarter. So I like that. I like that philosophy. Play a lot of guys. All right, Tommy, you going to the game?
Yes, sir. I'll be there tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
All right, brother. And we got our contest running in the next segment, trivia contest. I know you want to be listening for that. Try to win that print. So we'll. All
righty.
Appreciate you, my friend.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right, Tommy from Romulus. It's 10:26. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and hold my picks until the final segment. Just let the drama build even more. Robbie Glenn, my pal from StrikerStrong.org, is sitting here with us. I thought we might have a couple other people texted me and said
they might come by.
Of course, some of them were some of my student interns, and I think it sounded good, the idea of coming by 9 o'clock to it last night.
Yep.
By 9 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, they probably did. Probably went out last night and enjoyed it a little bit.
I don't think it sounded quite as good to them when the time that alarm clock went off. But anyway, people I think are pretty familiar that listen to my show with StrikerStrong.org. Your son Striker was born with a rare condition, and it was even more complicated because of an issue he had. But he is a fighter, and his fight has inspired you not only to help Striker, but other kids that are dealing with issues. That's the premise of StrikerStrong.org. And now you have a big golf tournament every year. It's coming up 3 weeks from today at Bentbrook. Tons of former Alabama, you're a former Alabama baseball player, tons of former Alabama athletes, former athletes from other schools. This is a big deal, and understand, the field's probably already full, but there's still other ways that people can get involved and help.
Yeah, it has gotten really big, and it's growing every year, and I'm very just touched by the outpouring of support from family, friends that help it run. And yeah, Striker was born with the rare condition of TBRS, so we help by getting money for that to get more awareness. But he did suffer an anoxic brain injury, so now we do things to help raise money for kids with brain injuries, special needs, but also to help preventive. We can't do anything to help Striker now. It's happened, and so his fight is every day, 24 hours a day. So what we're trying to do is get awareness, and if a child is suffering from febrile seizures, which is very common, maybe we can get preventive measures, get more equipment in the house to help if something happens. He was unfortunate when he aspirated, it stopped his heart. And, if we maybe had some equipment there to help, maybe we could have saved him a little bit of this pain that he's going through. It's tough, but the tournament is growing. It is Georgia weekend that Friday. Do have a lot of former teammates coming in town to play. A lot of ex-Bama, Marcel Darius will be there, and Antonio Langham and Trent Richardson and Kay Lee and a bunch of guys. I'm hoping Jay Barker makes it back down, and he always plays in it. And it's just going to be a great time and raising money and seeing what we can do and growing this thing.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been impressed with StrikerStrong.org, and of course, since you and I've gotten to know each other well, I'm impressed with you as a dad, and Lindsay, your wife, as a mother. Your commitment to your son is, I don't have kids, but I don't know that I've ever seen anything like it. But it has become more than just about Striker, as you alluded to, and you're constantly staying on top of things and having big events, but just the number of people that have gravitated toward you and Striker and gotten involved and raised awareness, it's quite impressive, because it's one thing to have a son that's dealing with something, other parents are dealing with something, but to take it from just to being about Striker to where it's come with Striker Strong to Oryx, you deserve credit, you and Lindsey both, and it's phenomenal what y'all done.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I like to think that any parent that's thrown this way and put in this situation is going to do the same thing for their child. And it is what it is, and we fight with Striker. Love him to death. That's my son. And Lindsey, bless her heart, she's there all day and night until I get home from work. Happened to leave a little early this morning to be down here. It's crazy being in Innisfree early. I mean, I think I've left Innisfree this early one time in Birmingham with Derek. But Tripp and them are awesome. They are big supporters of us. And so anytime I can get and be involved with, especially with their meet and 3, I'm coming down.
We're having lunch as soon as the show's over.
Yeah, as soon as the show's over. But yeah, it can't say enough about what Lindsey does too. She's tired. He threw us. He did not go to bed till 5:30 this morning, and so she was majority of it till about 2:33, and then she got me up, and then I handled it from there. But yeah, we're gonna fight and help other kids. We help Miracle League and Helena. Helena High School posted Striker Strong on their jumbotron for all the games, and Coach Busby there is just awesome, and he's a big follower of Striker, and anywhere we can help other families, we're there. With other golf tournaments we get involved in, and anything we can do.
All right, for the golf tournament, and again, it's going to be a great event, but it still is not too late to get involved, whether it's through a sponsorship or volunteering. Tell people if they want, or just to come out and support everybody, but tell people how they can get involved with the golf tournament.
Actually do have some open spots to play.
Oh, so you got some playing spots. Okay.
It's crazy how packed it is, but a lot of people put in a lot of teams, like companies do. They'll put in 4 teams, they'll back out 2, and they've done that. So I have some individual afternoon, 1 o'clock, 1:30 tee times for a foursome. If you want to get in, go to strikerstrong.org and send me a message on there. It has my email and everything on there. You can get in touch with me and I'll put you in. Or if you want to come out and be a part, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of things to do out there and be support. Just come out and help. And also, you can go to Striker Strong and donate there. Whole sponsors are still available. The platinum one is gone because we already got the shirts in, which I brought you here.
Yeah, thank you for all.
You got all the sponsors on the back.
And I'm sporting my golf shirt and my wristband.
Oh, you look great. You look like you're ready to go play. I got you a golf towel over there too. So yeah, just anytime if you want to be a supporter, just come out. You can donate that way, or come out and do a tent sponsor and promote your company.
Well, hang around, Robbie.
Yes.
In the final segment, when I do my picks, you can react to them. But we're going to get to the top
percent satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs. 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
Tiger, it's time for the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz, and we'll get to Brett here in just a second. But first, we got to run our contest, our Bama football trivia contest. I'm live as part of Fridays at the Free at Innisfree Irish Pub. We're not open yet, but they're set up and ready to go. As soon as the doors open at 11 a.m., we're ready to get you in here. Why? It's going to be live for T-Town Sports Daily. All right, our question today, since I'm over here, I want to make it simple because Chase is back there by himself. He's got to run the contest. We're going to qualify you through the end of the segment. Then we're going to have to cut it off. All right. I think this is an easy question, but should give us a lot of qualifiers. Again, we're going to give away that full-size Greg Gamble color print of the Gravedigger from T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. It is beautiful. We gave it one last week to Tony, our winner. Here's the question. Who was the starting quarterback for Alabama last season in Tampa against USF? Who was the starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide? He started, he didn't finish. But who was the starting quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide last year in that 17-3 win over the South Florida Bulls down in Tampa? All right, let the phone lines begin. 205-348-9422. Did I say that right? Am I mind? No, give me the number.
205-342-9904.
Yeah, 342-9904. I say it all the time, but so much stuff's in my brain. Chase has seen this before. I go blank every now and then. 205-342-9904 is the number to the Pinnacle Park North River Hotline. We'll start qualifying you now. Meanwhile, let me bring in my pal, Brett Pritchard. Brett, it's busier even than normal because I'm already out here at Innisfree Irish Pub. Robbie's already broke him out of Guinness, by the way, just so you know. He's not waiting until 11 o'clock. Good morning, Brett.
How are y'all?
Doing great, man. Good to have you. Got a lot going on, but boy, I tell you what, let's jump in on the Auburn Tigers because 73-0 last week over outmanned Alabama A&M, but still, offensive explosion. Peyton Thorne put up huge numbers. Those freshman wide receivers lived up to the hype. Before we look ahead to Cal, just your takeaways from game number one.
I think you and I talked about it last week. This was a game more about Auburn than the opponent. It wasn't a matter of you're going to win the football game. It was just going to be how do you look in the game. And I'll be honest with you. I thought Hugh Freeze dialed up an offensive plan to fit everybody. I think everybody in the all season, media, fans, everybody, even the coaching staff, really wanted to see what these newcomers at wide receiver look like. They wanted to see what Peyton Thorne looked like had he improved in a game, and what was his decision making like. And you could have lined up against Alabama A&M and been very vanilla and ran the football 30 times, and three backs could have been rushed for over 100 yards apiece and multiple touchdowns. But they ran the offense to for the most part to suit these wide receivers, and they didn't disappoint. Peyton Thorne didn't disappoint. He delivered the ball on time. He had a couple throws, as you heard Coach Freeze say this week, that he's got to make. But, again, for the most part, he was spot on. And, these guys lived up to billing. Again, it's Alabama A&M, but I thought Auburn came out and did what they were supposed to do against a lesser-than opponent, a team they're more talented than. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They executed on almost every offensive drive there in the first half, and the game was over midway through the second quarter. So that's the thing I took away from it. How did Auburn look? You weren't going to be able to tell very much against an opponent like that from a win-loss, but I thought they executed well, and I thought on defense they didn't allow Alabama A&M to run the ball at all and made them one-dimensional. That's what you want to do as a defense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, tomorrow, a tougher opponent, no doubt. A Cal team that last year out in Berkeley, that game went right down to the wire. Sam Jackson, interestingly enough, Cal quarterback now at Auburn, so some interesting little tidbits there. But it's going to be a tougher game. At the same time, this is at Jordan-Hare. I don't know. What's your vibe? I think Cal will play hard. I don't see this, and I'll do my picks in the next segment. I think that I'm not going to call it a rout, but I think Auburn winds up winning this game comfortably. But you cover the team. You know more about it than I do. How do you see it?
I feel the same way, Gary. Again, you look at Cal last week. They played a UC Davis team. They beat them 31-13, but UC Davis turned the ball over 5 times. I really, last year it was a lot of unknowns for that Auburn team that went out west. And you're right. Came down to last drive. Peyton Thorne didn't have a good game. Auburn overall didn't have a good game, but they found a way to pull out a win at the very end. And, I just think these are two different teams that going in two different directions. No cut on Cal. They still have Jaden Ott, and I don't know how healthy he is. Kind of rumored that he is a little banged up, but is still anticipated to play. And, they're gonna play a quarterback that was third on the depth chart last year. That doesn't mean that kid isn't a lot better and hasn't earned that position. But Sam Jackson, who's on Auburn's team, started against Auburn last year at quarterback. Threw for 149 yards. Threw a couple picks in that game. But for the most part, probably outplayed Auburn out there. Let's just be honest. I think Peyton Thorne didn't throw but for 90-something yards in that game. This was an ugly game statistic-wise. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Auburn with a lot more weapons at home, and I think it'll show against this Cal team. I think you'll see a lot more of the same. Try to jump out early offensively and get multiple guys involved, these receivers. And then I think you're going to be able to see more Jarquez Hunter, more Damari Alston running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage tomorrow.
Brent, give us a little background on how Sam Jackson, I know how he did it. He got in the portal and transferred to Auburn, but what's the background there for him to leave Cal as a quarterback and come to Auburn?
has a relationship with Peyton Thorne. It goes back. I don't know exactly. I'd have to go back and look it up myself, but has a connection with Peyton Thorne. There, and I think it came down to a situation where he wanted to play in the SEC. I think a lot of players want to do that, and maybe quarterback wasn't the right fit for him. And he came down here in the off season, really showed a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. And Coach Freeze and this staff really said that they feel like Sam Jackson would be the hidden gem on this team, that by the end of the season, he's going to be a guy that a lot of people look at as a major contributor to this football team. And, he was a great addition. You saw Saturday a very acrobatic catch in the end zone against a couple of guys. And I think Alabama A&M defender thought he had the ball. I thought he had the ball, and Sam Jackson just came out of nowhere and made a great catch. So there's been a lot of hype around these freshmen, but I think Sam Jackson moving over from Cal, having that relationship, knowing somebody that he's comfortable with, making that transfer in the portal is going to be a big plus for Auburn before the year's over.
Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz with our Auburn Report here on the Gary Harris Show. All right, when you look at this game tomorrow for Auburn, you and I both already in agreement. We think Auburn's going to wind up winning this game by the line's 13, so I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. I'm taking Auburn minus the 13 here. How important is this game, though, just in terms of you played an outmanned opponent? Okay, let's just call it for what it is. Alabama A&M is about as outmanned against Auburn as you're going to be in a game. And now you go up some in the quality of opponent, but I think the feeling here in this state is that Auburn is going to wind up. How important is it for Auburn to look good and to win this game and not have one of these nail biters where you start doubting yourself? Do you kind of see where I'm going with this? To get Alabama A&M out of the way. How important is it to play well against a good opponent tomorrow?
Well, I think it's very important. I think the old coach speak that we hear every time this year is you make your most improvement between game one and game two, and I think that gets overused. But I think you got to come out and show that, hey, we're at home again. We're not content. There's still plenty of things to work on. We're not content, with a big win over an opponent that we should have dominated. We got to come out. This is a better opponent. This is a better situation to prove that that Auburn's on the rise, that they're going in the right direction. So it's very important. You don't want to come in and have a letdown, in week 2 and turn into slop fest. You want to build on the momentum and you want to keep this thing going because the schedule's only going to get harder as the year goes on. And I think this is a good opportunity, like you said, not a world beater team in Cal, but a team that's going to be a formidable opponent. I think Auburn's going to have some challenges with early, but I think they should be able to impose their will as the game goes on.
And lastly, you and I discussed this last season. We discussed it over the summer. I don't know what it is about these head coaches that are play callers that oftentimes when they take a job, they feel like, well, I need to be the head coach only, and they take away one of their strengths, which is calling plays.
Right.
Hugh Freeze is back in charge. Ken Austin, as you said, Derek Nix, guys he's comfortable with. Again, the opponent was outmanned, but it seems like just from a structure standpoint, a rhythm standpoint with the offense, it's going to be a lot better than it was last year.
It does seem that way. I mean, when you look at the way, both Hank Brown and Peyton Thorne performed last Saturday, I mean, I think you see a new comfort level. And I think you and I talked about this before the season. Just make a decision on who's going to call the plays and let everybody settle into that. And, all that indecision just leads to turmoil. We saw that last year. And I think when Hugh Freeze finally decided it wasn't a good idea to run Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne in, once he settled on Peyton Thorne, obviously he got better. His completion percentage went up above 60% in every game other than the Alabama game. I just think the sooner you can make decisions, the better for everybody. So, yeah, it looked really good. Hopefully it'll look that way again Saturday.
All right, great stuff as always, Brett, and I know you got more coming up on the Auburn Blitz today at noon.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Have Jason Caldwell on as we always do on Fridays. with Auburn undercover. Potential, still looking at Deuce Knight, what he's going to do, what his decision is going to be. Is he going to flip from Notre Dame, or is he going to stick with his commitment? There's some buzz out there. We'll talk to him about that. Plus, we'll break down tomorrow's game.
When do you think something could happen with Deuce Knight? Quickly.
I think could happen tomorrow. There is, I really think that, he wanted to make that decision. They came down, he and his family came down last week and, wanted to have everybody together. And then I don't think he wanted to do it before his first high school football game. He didn't want to take away from his teammates. I think he really likes Notre Dame, and I think he likes the coaching staff up there. So it's a hard decision for him.
Yeah.
But I think that ultimately, even if he doesn't flip on Saturday, I think ultimately he will.
It appears to be the case. Thank you so much, Brett.
Thank you.
All right, 10:48 here on the Gary Harris Show. Fridays at the Free are underway. They're going to be opening the doors here in about 12 minutes for lunch and more. So get on by here. Wyatt will be doing T-Town Sports Daily, and we'll get a little buzz going with some people. All right, when we come back, I know, Chase, go ahead and shut down the phone lines. I understand it's been We'll tell you how many qualifiers we've got. I'll have my point spread predictions. And we'll get a winner.
They're living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few periods of rain today and tonight. The high today 78, the low tonight 64. Tomorrow partly sunny with only a small chance of a shower, the high 84. And Sunday, a sunny day with a high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:52. Welcome back in to Innisfree Irish Pub. They're opening the doors at 11 a.m., beginning lunch, and, of course, it'll be going on until the wee hours of the morning here at Innisfree. But it is time for my SEC point spread predictions. Then we'll do the trivia contest. We had 21 qualifiers. But right now, as I said, a lot of eyes are on me after I went 8-1 and did a victory lap on Facebook and a victory lap on Twitter and a victory lap on my show. I think I might have even mentioned it on TV. So Robbie's with me. We're going to run these down. All right, a lot of people asked me last week, why didn't you pick the Auburn game? I'm trying to stay away from once we get into SEC play, it won't be as difficult. So many games with FCS opponents. I'm trying just to pick the FBS opponents, even though some of the lines are still wide. When you play these FCS teams, it's just I don't have time to do them all. So I got 10 games. Let me run through them real quick. All right, I'm going to start with Bama, obviously. Cat's out of the bag. I picked it on Tider Insider TV. 52-13. Alabama is laying 31. It got up to 32, back down to 31 last night when I checked it. I got the Tide getting it done here, Robbie.
Yeah, I do too. I have them 44-6, so they're covering.
All right, so I got Bama. Auburn, as I said with Brett, I went back and forth on this. I think Cal's a decent team, but at Jordan-Hare with those weapons on offense, I think ultimately Auburn covers this 13.
I do too.
All right, so you're one with me 2 for 2 for so far. All right, here's an interesting game. I'll be interested to see if you agree with me on this one. And I'm probably I said this about Vanderbilt last week when I said Vanderbilt could win, and they did. I said I'll probably regret that. I'll probably regret this. But I think Arkansas is going to play OSU a tough game. I'm going to take the 8 here because I think this is going to be a one-score game, so I'm taking the points.
I do too. I like Arkansas and LSU. I like Arkansas.
Okay. All right, Texas at Michigan. I got a lot of respect for Michigan, and we know how hard it is to win a national championship and what they did last year. And defensively, they're still pretty good. Offensively, this isn't the same team. J.D. McCarthy gone, Harbaugh gone. I think Texas is a national championship caliber team. I don't think Michigan's going to roll over. I think the Big House is going to be tough. Ultimately, though, Texas -7. I think they wind up winning and covering here.
Texas definitely covers. They're not going to be shocked playing in the front of a crowd like they did. They were here in Tuscaloosa last year, so they're ready.
So you hadn't bucked me yet. We got one SEC versus SEC game tomorrow. We got South Carolina at Kentucky. And Kentucky and South Carolina, if I just looked at this based on just the two programs, I'd probably say take the 8.5. And I know it was just one game, but South Carolina on offense was brutal last week. I'm taking Kentucky and laying 8.5 here.
I'm agreeing with you. Right. I like Kentucky.
All right. NC State and Tennessee in Charlotte. Tennessee's laying 10. When I was looking these over last night, and I'm not very scientific here. I just go with my gut. My instinct was to take Tennessee, especially ACC versus SEC and all that. But I think NC State might be the best team in the ACC. And Dave Doran's established that program now. I just think that's too many points. I think this is a one-score game. I got NC State plus the 10.
And again, we're agreeing. NC State played bad last week. They're getting ready for this week. I think Tennessee wins, but maybe by 3.
Okay. Here's one. Ole Miss laying 43 against Middle Tennessee. Of course, Derek Mason's the head coach now at Middle Tennessee, former Vanderbilt coach. That's a lot of points. There's a lot of, when you get 43, there's a lot of ways to back recover. But Kiffin's on a mission to get in the playoff. He will not let up. He'll keep scoring. I'm laying the 43.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Ole Miss.
Buffalo at Missouri. Same philosophy here. Maurice Lindquist, old school. Buffalo's actually had some pretty good football teams. But Missouri's trying to make a statement as well. And 34.5, I like the Tigers here.
Yep, Missouri.
Okay.
This is easy.
Yeah. Houston at Oklahoma. Houston, again, a team that can give you some trouble. I got to get through these quickly. I'm going to take Oklahoma minus 27.5.
Oklahoma, I'm taking.
All right, and then I got Mississippi State plus the 5.5 at Arizona State.
Yes, I will take Mississippi State. We're right there with you. So I'm hoping you're right.
The trivia question was, who was Alabama's starting quarterback at South Florida last week? The answer is Tyler Buchner. We had 21 qualifiers. Chase, go ahead and roll that roulette wheel.
Winner is Gil.
What number was he?
He was number 11.
Bill?
Gil, G-I-L.
Gil. Oh, G-I-L. G-I-L. All right, Gil, listen, make sure you text me his name and number, Chase, and I'll get in touch with Gil to get him our print like I did Tony this past week. So, all right, we're out of time. We're going to transition and hand it off to Wyatt here at Innisfree Irish Pub. Fridays at the Free. We're off and running. We're going to be going till, well, why don't we go to 1 o'clock? Innisfree is going to be going to 1 o'clock and past some a.m.
At least, yeah.
As we get ready for game day weekend. Well, thank my pal Robbie Glenn for stopping by from StrikerStrong.org. Go to StrikerStrong.org and support that great golf tournament coming up and all the stuff that they do. Wyatt's coming in with T-Town Sports Daily. We're live at Innisfree Irish Pub. Fridays at the Free will continue on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Join me for Football Friday tonight at 10:30 on WVUA 23. An hour of high school football highlights, scores, analysis, and more. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you again on Monday at 9 a.m.
For listening to the Gary